Hey everybody, thanks for joining me. So tonight I'm going to show you a video of my custom Lego trains on my small door layout. And basically what I'm going to show you here is 5 completely custom trains that I have made over the course of the last year or so. I'm going to divide this video up into probably 3 different parts. In my first part here, I'm going to focus on the layout itself, and in part number 2, I'm going to focus on my locomotives, and in part number 3, I'm going to focus on my rolling stock. So I'm going to go ahead and shut the engines off here real quickly and chat a little bit about my layout. So first off, let's see what I've done wrong here. Turn the blue off, turn the black off, turn the orange off. What's still creeping here? Green? I hear one more. Blue. Nope. Yep. Blue. Orange. Black. Holy cow. There's not that many left. Green's off. Blue's off. Orange is off. It was yellow. My Union Pacific. Alright, thanks for waiting for me. So, as you can see, I've got a large controller all hooked together. I've tried to color code the controllers with the different color engines. So I've got orange controller here for orange engine, black for my black locomotive, yellow for my monorail, which I've taken down, have not adopted my controller, yellow for my Union Pacific, red for my original Santa Fe released by Lego, which I don't have on display, green for my little green engine, blue for my blue engine, and white is for the 60051, the regular city set, which I don't have on display right now. So let's step back and take a little look. My layout here started out as a simple hollow core door. That's a 30 by, what's a door? 30 by 80? Yeah, that sounds good. A 30 by 80 hollow core door that you can buy for about 30 bucks at your home improvement store. And then to the bottom of that, I fixed a couple of folding table legs. Let's take a look down here. And there you go, folding table leg. And you can see how I put a little block underneath it, and then we can very clearly see the door. Now, my layout is now bigger than a 30 by 80 door. I have added some extensions on along the back and along the front. So my layout now actually measures 48 inches by, I don't know, 90 some odd inches. So it's approaching 5 by 10 feet. Or right now it's a little over 4 by 9. I might grow it at some point in time, but you can see here I have 3 complete loops, plus on the back track I have an additional what is effectively a siding, so that I can run 3 trains simultaneously. And if I'm really paying attention to the controller and not trying to film, I can run a 3rd or 4th and sometimes a 5th train, running 2 of them simultaneously on the same track. The layout started out as what you see in the middle here, a simple loop with the standard R54 radius curves, and then I added a couple of sidings here and a couple of sidings here. And then from that I expanded to my second loop, which is this one here. And that, I believe, still fit on the, no, that did not fit on the 30 by 80 door. I did have to expand the table. And then ultimately I put the 3rd loop on, and the third loop brought it up to 48 by almost 8.5 feet long. So effectively what I did, using that door as a table with those legs I showed you, I then just pretty much put a couple of pieces of plywood on top of this to make the table a little bit larger. I have something like 20 odd switches on this table, and I don't know, 70 or 80 feet of track, which is kind of amazing. So to me, being able to run 3 trains simultaneously and then a fourth and a fifth one, if I'm really paying attention, is a lot of fun. The switches I have removed the little yellow switch knob that you normally see, because some of my engines, like my BNSF and my my Frisco lines, you can see right here, it starts to overhang the track quite a little bit, and through a lot of these corners, especially through some of these tight switch setups here, the front end can sometimes contact the little yellow switch that sticks up. So I've simply removed those, and I can still flip my switch really pretty easily. My focus here was a couple of things with this layout. I wanted 3 tracks. I'd like more, but I'm not yet growing the table. I wanted a reversing loop, which is right here. So as a train comes around and is running in the clockwise direction, it can then catch this reversing loop and then put it into a counterclockwise direction. And along those lines, I've made a provision back here for the inner loop to be able to connect easily with the outer loop. I've done that here on the front. There's an easy connection for the inner loop to the middle loop, and then again from the middle loop over to the outer loop. So it's pretty easy for me to store some trains on the inside here, run them around this, bring them out the outside to the middle, bring them on the middle to the outside. So the center storage area works, the center yard area works pretty well for storage. Right now you see that my old-time passenger cars are sitting idle, and my steam locomotive is just hooked to the caboose. The batteries are just a little low, and the engine's having difficulty dragging around all 3 cars. So we're just sticking with the engine and the caboose for right now. Most of my engines are powerful enough to pull all of my cars, but we're going to touch upon that in the next one. Here I primarily want to focus on the layout. I've tried to make this layout completely custom. So from right here, what you see, with very few exceptions, is completely custom. The entire Union Pacific train with the boxcars is custom. The small switcher locomotive and the tank cars are custom. The old-time passenger and baggage cars are custom. The CSX car and the hopper cars, they're all custom. The steam locomotive and its caboose, plus the BNSF and its well cars, they are all custom. So those are all custom. My flags, my trees, they're all custom. My loading crane gantry, my signal lights, and down here you can see the little kind of bumpers at the end of my sidings, plus my semi-truck and my containers. Those are all custom. So the only thing in here that's really stock from Lego is I have a little bit of remnant of the 60051 passenger train. That's the station that came with it. That's getting torn out shortly. And then I just threw a couple of your regular Lego cars on there as well, the Bugatti and the Mustang, from the Lego car collection. The flag is custom. So really, once I remove these 1, 2, 3 items, everything you see here is going to be 100% custom. It was a difficult decision to box away some of my Lego trains, the 60051, 60052, plus the Santa Fe, the 10020, I believe. I did go ahead and box those up simply for the purposes of my layout was getting a little crowded. Having 5 trains right now to run on 3 tracks is plenty. I did not need to run my 2 additional engines plus my monorail, which I may cut away and show a picture of what my monorail looked like, but it used to be set up effectively mirroring what that inside loop looks like. So I took that down as well. I know for a lot of layouts and a lot of Lego trains, you see a lot of cities, and you see a lot of cities that are built with trains as a secondary thought. This, though, is how I ran my trains as a child. It was a simple layout with tracks and engines and maybe a few very minor scenery type items. And so that's kind of how I choose to do it on this layout. I'm part of a local Lego train club, and as part of the group, they do a fantastic job of building up these base plates so that they have the proper rails, and they have gravel and ballast and decorations on them, and it makes them about this thick. And there's just a lot of additional expense associated with that, and making those custom tracks. And I just chose not to do that for simplicity's sake, and for part count's sake, and for obviously cost's sake as well. Those hundreds of dollars that I would spend putting proper, ballast and whatnot around all of these tracks has a disadvantage in that, number one, it really reduces my ability to change this layout, and I've changed it several times. But number two, that's dollars that I'm not spending on each of these individual components. I'd rather have nice rolling stock, including engines, and a few nice decorations like these, as opposed to some fancy ballasted track. And to each their own. There's no wrong way to do that, and there's no right way to do that. The whole purpose of my video, though, here is to give you a basic introduction to what can be accomplished on a small door track. Again, a 30 by 80 hollow core door at your local supply store is going to cost you 30 bucks. A pair of those table legs is going to cost you $25 to $30 again at your local home repair store. So for about $40 or $50 you can get a basic table setup that gives you something to put your layout on. Now I did go ahead and I went with this is simply a king or queen size green bed sheet that I chose to put down instead of looking at the bare table. You can go with whatever color you want. You don't even need any type of table surface, but in addition to providing a little bit of color for my layout, it also provides a little bit of padding, and it also provides a little bit of sound deadening. And I'm going to pan back a little bit and we can kind of see here. So this is just a small table that I have set up in a small hobby room where I do a lot of my hobbies and crafts, and I've got a piano and an arcade game and some RC stuff over here as well. But this doesn't, you can see I've got a regular sized couch over here, so it doesn't take up too much room. It's nice to be able to set up and run my trains up here on the small layout. I have not left any room for buildings. I've not left room for the Lego module sets and that sort of thing, and that's fine with me. My intention here is to focus primarily on the layout, focus primarily on the rolling stock and on the engines, and then add a little bit of decoration. You can see here I've taken a few of the regular Lego trees and I've placed them over here. I've made a couple of custom trees out of the leaf pieces. I've made a custom tree here out of some of the plant pieces. My intention is to make about 10 or so more of those trees. Get rid of this, get rid of this, and get rid of this, and make it 100% custom. So this layout gives me a lot of flexibility. It gives me a lot of options. There are now some third-party curved switches that are being made. I think 40 Bricks Tracks makes some, and then there's another company out there too that I should remember the name of as well that also makes some curved switches. So there are some more switching opportunities here, but like I said, I have almost 24 switches on this layout. It provides me a lot of flexibility. It gives me a lot of options for running. I can do switching puzzles. I can simply run 2 or 3 or 4 trains at a time. I can switch back and forth. It's a lot of fun to come up and be able to run this layout. And eventually in the future, I plan on adding a few more additions. I'm going to, once I get this area cleared out, I'll probably make a small station. Over here in this area, I have plans for an engine house and a repair facility for engines. And then over in this area, I'll probably do something additional with my containers and maybe put a little park back in that area. But then again, I'm pretty limited in my room here in these corners because of the overhangs on my engine. So I can't put a lot of decoration there too, which is fine for me. That's kind of how I grew up. I grew up on the basic slap some track down on the table and run your engines and throw a few decorations in there if you can. So that's a basic overview of my layout on a door. In my next video, I'm gonna discuss my engines in a little bit more detail, and then in the video after that, I'm gonna talk a little bit more about my rolling stock. So I really hope you've enjoyed this so far, and be sure and like and subscribe. Thanks.